My name is Rick. I'm a targeted individual. This is just a brief summary of my targeting, of which started in 1984. The day after the Detroit Tigers won the World Series, in the sports page of the Detroit Free Press, the cover story ended on the back page, and there was an article written by Tom Opry pushing his belief that it was wrong that tobacco products were being sold without taxation on Indian reservations, making it unfair to the surrounding businesses around the reservations. I wrote an article challenging this belief, and it was a couple of days later I received a phone call from Mitch Albom was his name. And it was the next day after that phone conversation that they had a picture of an Aboriginal indigenous person with the big head dressing on his head on the front page of the Detroit Free Press. As I read through the paper, I noticed that there was a between-the-lines attack taking place against me. And the late Mark Scott, he was a local radio show, talk show gentleman, he stated on his show that he noticed that the press was after someone. Information was circulated to my place of employment, and I was driven out of my job. That information followed me wherever I went, and I lost other jobs also due to this attack on me, all thanks to the mainstream media. Moving on to more recent history, when I left Michigan in 2014 to try and get away from the constant verbal assaults that were taking place against me while I was out and about, I was attacked at the Chicago Greyhound bus station, and this verbal assault followed me to Denver. A group of people that got off of a bus in Denver explained to me that the decadent information was being circulated on the radio, and there was an extremely decadent verbal assault that took place just about everywhere I went, including McDonald's, motel offices, parking lots, you name it. When I moved to Idaho Springs, there was a decadent verbal assault that started up there. And it started up almost immediately in the apartment complex I was in. And the people above me would pound on the ceiling and verbally assault me out loud, preventing me from sleeping. I was also harassed around town, including one occasion when a large group of construction workers yelled and screamed obscenities at me as I walked by. Recently, I moved to Wyoming, and there have been several instances of stalking, including a black couple in a grocery store. The woman whispered into the ear of the man as if to cue him, and he started to yell out loud, "Oh no, ha ha ha," very loudly, and it's all over the place, he said. I think that these sorts of loud verbal assaults are dangerous. It was as if they were trying to start some sort of a mob reaction against me. Now, over a week before this instance, I was returning at night from picking up my mail around 11:30, and as I was cutting through the complex on a sidewalk to get to my building, it was being blocked off by two men that I had never seen before, and they mocked me, laughing very loudly as I passed by. Now, in Colorado, I figured that these attacks were organized, so I put organized harassment in a YouTube search, and that is the first time I ever heard of organized gang stalking and targeted individuals. Looking back, I have a friend that was having his home broken into, and they were moving his furniture around at his home for over a year. Other targets explained the same activity taking place in their videos against them. I was also getting attacked at sporting events, and I recorded a lot of it with my Comcast recorder and showed it to a friend, and he was stunned when he saw what was happening. They then started targeting him with a decadent verbal assault as he was out and about, and he became isolated. People would follow him for long distances, and there was also a noise campaign to keep him awake at night. Bottles were thrown at him, and he was injured with stuff that was thrown out of cars at him. When he went to a town around 90 miles away to visit a lady friend, a decadent verbal assault started up outside in the parking lots, and people that he had never seen before were yelling and screaming at him. The pounding on the walls also started up there, and he moved around a year ago, and now he is under some form of a neighborhood watch protection program, which is helping him out a lot. A couple I know was also targeted. Perpetrators shit on their porch and stained the shutters on the outside of their apartment. They also ripped the shutters off. Information was spread to his family, and they stopped calling him, including during his birthday and for Christmas. There were also cars on the road that would intentionally sideswipe his car as he was driving. So these just a few friends that I had, they were also all getting targeted. Let me explain why I think that every individual in the United States is a targeted individual. The people that are experiencing street theater and electronic harassment and stuff, they are getting hammered. But if an individual placed a device on you that could listen to and or record everything that you said without your consent, if found guilty in a court of law, they could wind up in prison for the crime of stalking. It states in our Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. Unquote. Our politicians are supposed to be protecting our freedoms and privacy in the name of security, not taking our privacy and freedoms away in the name of security. What is taking place today in America is the ultimate political inversion, as stated in our Declaration of Independence. A totalitarian state in which we exist to serve our masters. It is your masters that get away with stealing your privacy, not your public servants. U.S. politicians also lied about why they invaded Iraq, resulting in the deaths of over 10,000 U.S. military personnel and the deaths of over 1.4 million Iraqis. Your masters get away with lying to you, not your public servants. If I lied to you about why I killed 5 people and made the claim that I had liberated them, would you trust me? Would you then go on to trust me with all of your personal data that I had stolen from you for close to a decade without your consent? Of course you wouldn't. Today, we live in a world where U.S. politicians and other political leaders around the world are behaving as if individual rights do not even exist. As long as individual rights are not recognized around the world, then the gang stalking that is taking place around the world will continue. It is only through our moral cognition and our ability to digest reality in a moral context that gang stalking can be stopped. It is only through our moral cognition and our ability to digest reality in a moral context that mankind can achieve its ultimatum, world peace, through the recognition of individual rights on a global basis, with the understanding that every individual, that's every man, woman, and child, should have a right to their own life, privacy, and possessions, regardless of their ethnicity or the geography upon which they preside, which is the exact opposite position of the morally bankrupt New World Order nonsense that is devastating our planet today with massive death, destruction, and suffering. With the threat of nuclear war in the air, now is the time for a peaceful revolution of thought.